yeah, it is Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. A little bit before 5 p.m. Central Time, the best time. You know what that means? It's time for First Call here on Tasty Live. My name is Victor Jones, but you're not here for me. You're here for the one, the only, the founder and the creator, the CEO one time, Mr. Tom Sosnoff. How you doing, Tom?
Can't be a CEO anymore, Vic. You can only be a founder. Okay, just remember that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a CEO right now either. How are you, my friend?
I'm all good. It's good. We've been on the road all weekend. We had our last live show of the year and back in Chicago tonight, watching the Bears get stomped. And other than that, it's all good.
Yeah. What was your opening joke? That's what I always. I've seen your presentation so many different versions, but you always have a different opener.
Okay, so this time when we got to Phoenix, we took our first driverless car. So it was my first Waymo experience.
I bet you're all in.
Yeah, I was pretty much all in. It took me about 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds, like 20 seconds, and I was all in. It was pretty damn good. And so I, cracked a couple of jokes about Waymo, but the driverless car, we don't have them here in Chicago, but in Phoenix they have them. So we waited, we got one, and then we took it about 25 minutes to dinner, and it was great.
Yeah, you can't just launch in Chicago. You got to grease some palms. You got to talk to all 50 aldermen. You can't just launch in Chicago like they did in Miami. You got to go see some people in Chicago.
I'm not sure exactly how it works here, but we took it. It was great. I was surprised. I was actually surprised how good it was.
Why? Why were you surprised, my friend?
I don't know. I think like when you read about it and you hear about it, you have all these kind of weird, I don't know, expectations or something. And then when you actually hop in it, you feel like, oh, this is totally normal. Like it didn't even take 2 seconds to be, oh, this is totally normal.
Oh, we're on the cusp. We're on the cusp, my friend. The fourth revolution is upon us. Driverless cars, robotics, humanoids getting chipped up, biotechnology. It's all here, my friend. We're a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Well, I've been an advocate for chipping everybody for a long time. So,
Thomas, all-time highs, up, and away we go. Santa Claus rally is upon us. At least that's the narrative anyway. Jobs number, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but like the narrative seems fairly positive. Vol's in the 12 handle. Tom Sosnoff, is the market and the market participants, are they too complacent going into the end of the year? Do they have good reason? What do you think, man?
Well, generally throughout history, December triple witching has been very, very bullish. And so when you go way back, it's just kind of been December triple witching's kind of been the probably the driver of that huge Santa Claus rally type thing. But in the last 3 years, it's been ugly in December, which is really weird. And so, I think people tend to forget that the last three Decembers were pretty big down moves going into triple witching. And, when you think about where we are right now, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of shorts left. Let's put it that way. And if there are some shorts out there, they don't have too much conviction. So I would expect that if the market rolls over at some point, it'll pick up speed to the downside because I don't think anybody has any short positions on right now. But I mean, I feel like we haven't had a downtick in so long that people forgot a little bit what it's like. I don't know. Obviously, at these levels here with the VIX of 12 and volume, option volume has been good, but it's mostly all equities. It's scary. In other words, when the markets are cyclical and they have, some two-sided trade, you'll see a lot of like SPX index volume, and you'll see, a lot of ETF index, ETF, and that kind of stuff. When the markets go into this kind of mode, like there are right now, where there's no futures volume, there's really heavy option volume, but it's all equities. It's all Tesla. It's all, various Bitcoin ETFs. It's all various tech stocks. It's a very different, and I think you have to be, cautiously aware. Like, don't get caught up.
Yeah, the VIX at 12 and change. I wonder how you think about it. We always talk about this when the VIX is elevated, and I think when the VIX is low, I think it's a good topic to discuss. But it seems whenever VIX is low, you have a high probability of autocorrelation. In other words, a trending lower volatility or a grinding market to the upside. But you also have a fatter left tail, so your expected value doesn't
Yep.
really change much. But your probabilities of a slightly higher market are offset by a fat left tail or potential jumpers to the downside. Is that how you kind of see the setup for this
Yeah,
market
I
going into
mean,
the next week?
you have the biggest percentage risk here of vol expansion, so it gets to be very hairy here. You have to be careful with your theta numbers and at the VIX at these levels because you can see a 30% jump in volatility in a day. Because it's nothing. It's only 12. Jumps up 2.5 bucks, and you got a 20% jump in volatility, which only takes it back to 14, 15, which is still only long-term averages or below. So I think right now, there is a lot more risk than people are betting that this lull state in volatility will stay because it tends to for long periods of time, 70% of the time, 80% of the time. But when it moves here, you have the biggest risk. So the risk reward is something that, you have an entire generation of people trading and investing that that have never even seen a downtick. You have here, I'll tell you, this is how crazy it is. The number one support question that we've been getting for the last month is, I have a covered call on and I'm getting killed on my call.
Yeah.
It is the number one support question, which, as everybody knows, it's a max winner, the trade.
Mm-hmm. So
it's like they're mad because they have a max winner on, but they got capped out.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amazing to me is, that they think that's a problem. Like that's the most high class problem I've ever seen in the world of trading. You have a max winner. Okay, take your winner. Let's move on. But
total high class problem.
I know, but it's kind of wild. And you've heard the old adage, when the VIX is high, it's time to buy. When the VIX is low, it's time to go. That kind of thing. Well, everybody has the exact opposite mentality right now. Exact opposite. Yeah. So that inverse correlation is just out the window.
Yeah, they just opened them. Not much happening in the equity indices, not much happening in bonds. But this is like the third week out of 4 where natty gas is just exploding in vol, up 7.5%. Nice gap up today.
Yeah, again, it's a very small, like I mentioned once on air, I think with Tony, Sunday nights we had big natty gas moves, but it's less than, a fraction of 1% of all our customer positions. It's like 1 or 0.2%. So it has very little bearing on, customer P&L and things like that. I mean, if you looked around tonight, you'd probably get a much more Bitcoin down 1,300, euro up. Well, it's only up 80. It's nothing. I mean, that's it. Really nothing else. You're right. Natty gas was the biggest percentage move, but
Yep. I don't know if you've written your cherry bomb already. But
I have.
BlackRock,
I have.
Oh man, BlackRock put out their 2025 report, and one of the things that got picked up a lot, and I thought it blew my mind. They said in this report that we've defeated the business cycle, Tom. That we are in a new phase here. We're past the boom and bust, the previous boom and bust cycles of capitalism. We're in some sort of post boom and bust phase. What's your just knee jerk reaction to that? Not having read the entirety of the report,
Is that a
scary thing to hear? It's different this time.
It's never really that different, but I kind of understand. There's so little news. I mean, I wrote my cherry bomb tonight basically saying, as much as you want to look around the world and say, oh, you know what, there's been a coup in Syria, there's stuff going on all over the world, as much as you want to think about all that, the VIX is still 12. and change, and so you have a tradable, measurable volatility index that you could be on either side. So as much as you want to think there's stuff going on around the world, the reality is there is no fear right now. And you have to just, respect the actual market. I wrote tonight, though, when I was writing my cherry bomb, basically my premise tonight is that, let's, I kind of feel like there's a lot of areas of our existence right now where we, for whatever reason, stupidity goes unchecked. And I just hope that I hope that I didn't get into specifics, so don't worry about that. But I just hope that, the integrity of finance stays clean, because I don't want people to start thinking that exactly what that BlackRock article may be suggesting, which is, and I don't know because I haven't read it, but I don't want people to start thinking, oh, there's no risk because all they ever do is go up. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Because the world doesn't work that way. Risk doesn't work that way.
Amen to that. You talked about Waymo earlier, the expansion into Miami last week. I'm going to do pops and drops real quick before we bring Pete in.
Yeah, sure.
So we can get some symbols on the screen.
Yeah, I bought some Uber on that $7 down move in Uber. I bought some Uber on whatever day that was, Thursday or Friday, whenever the stock was Thursday. Down $7.
Thursday,
yeah, we took $1 out of it. The next day it was up like $1. So it's just a short-term trade. But, listen, I love Uber. I think it's one of the most brilliant ideas of the last, 20 years. I really do. I think it's just like the technology behind Uber just blows me away. Just how they can talk about disruption and everything else. I didn't really get the whole Waymo thing. That's why I was so committed to trying it as soon as we got off the plane, because I wanted to see what it was like, and I wanted to see if the disruption was, quote, real. And it's interesting because I would definitely do it again. And the prices, just so you know, so we looked at the prices because we were doing kind of like a little, we were comparing the two. And it's a electric Jaguar, which don't know if I've ever seen before, like, as whatever, but it's a very nice car. It's a very clean car. And it's similar to like a regular priced Uber. It's half the price of an Uber Black.
Yeah, of course. You just triggered some people out there with the mention of that car brand name, I'm sure, but we'll continue on here. I don't know.
Because of last week, the concept car and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I'm just telling you what they use. I think it's just so they have one car that's consistent.
Oh, I know that electric vehicle. They've had that one out for a while. It's clean. It's super.
Yeah. I'd never been in it before, so that's the only reason I mentioned it.
All right, I'm bringing this next one up. I'm trying to. I don't know. I don't really want to get controversial. I'm just bringing it up for price purposes. But you go with it wherever you want to. This bad boy, United Health Group, was down something like 13%. I think, or 10%. They're down 10% last week. So trading at 550, and this is on the heels of, as soon as RFK was sort of put out as Secretary of HHS, Pfizer, Moderna, a lot of these healthcare names have taken a little bit of a haircut. This one hadn't. This is healthcare. It's insurance, obviously. Is this one that is interesting from a trading standpoint, given its discount over the last week?
Probably not, but not because of. It's never been interesting as a trading vehicle, simply because it's a 500. UNH is a $550 stock, or was a $580 stock before that, $590 stock, and the markets in there aren't great. So it's never been really that much of a tradable vehicle. The one thing about healthcare is whether you want to buy it because you think it's cheap, whether you want to sell it because you think it's expensive, it is really not easy to trade. I mean, whether you're talking about UNH or you go to pharmaceuticals like Lilly or whatever else it is not an easy sector to trade at all. So, Would I buy UNH here? Probably not. It's probably a decent buy to sell some out of the money puts or something like that. But have I? No. And will I? I didn't even look at the markets last week.
Fair enough. Let's go the opposite end. Those are there's not all of them, a handful of the discounts for the week. I'm curious to go the other end and some of the pops and see if you'd fade them. Tesla had a pretty decent week last week.
You got to fade Tesla here. It's the best fade in the world. Yeah, Tesla should be sold. I mean, I'm not saying sell it to your hands bleed because it'll probably gap. It closed like $4 or $5 higher in the post market on Friday, but I nibbled on the short side. I'm a little bit short Tesla. I nibbled more on the short side on the close. I want to sell. I want to get a lot shorter in Tesla on the opening. I think it's the most overpriced stock anywhere. I mean, it's riding an unbelievable wave of, it's a very emotional move in Tesla. And I think Tesla's probably, of all the stocks I can think of out there that are subject to, that have the depth and liquidity to be in the midst of a short squeeze, or to at least have big enough players that can push the stock higher, Tesla's probably the one stock. So I would say they squeeze the shorts pretty good. I give them, maybe they trades 400 on Monday or Tuesday, and then I can't see how anybody can be long Tesla here. Anybody.
Let me ask you this question. It has to do with cognitive bias. We were talking about bias before the show. Do you think, and this is a serious, legit question. You have sort of a thought or feeling about the CEO. Is it easy for you to put that thought and feeling aside and trade Tesla's price action objectively? Or do you feel in some way the way you think and feel about Elon at times, do you think it filters into how you're thinking about the price action in the stock?
No, I'm just a trader. I'm a trader. I can hate somebody. I can hate a company. I can love a company, but ultimately I just trade it. I don't really care.
All right.
Yeah, but it will impact here. It will impact my feelings about Elon. Will definitely impact the future of me owning another Tesla. I will never own another Tesla. I'm done.
What are you going to buy next? Do you know?
Probably a Lucid.
What do you do, Lucid?
I like that. I haven't not. To be fair, I have not looked at all.
I see you. Let me pitch you something real quick.
Okay, what do you got?
Okay, it's Tom Sosnoff. Just think of a billboard, okay? I want to reinvent you at this.
Okay, at this point in my life, go ahead, reinvent me.
Think of it. We're gonna buy the billboard on Ohio Street coming off the interstate, and it's a picture of you leaning next to on a Cybertruck, and it says Tom Sosnoff, Urban Cowboy.
No, Victor.
And we take the beret off, and
no, I don't even like. I don't even like
a cowboy hat.
The Cybertruck, I've actually never been in one, but I don't like the looks of it. I have a Model S, and I really like it. So I've had two of them, and I like it. It's a good car.
All right. Last one before we get Pete in here. Lulu, people don't know this, but you are exclusively wearing yoga pants, waist down, but they never see you below the waist on these shows.
That is an untrue statement at its very core.
What do you think about the move in Lulu?
That was ridiculous. But Lulu, again, very hard to trade. I have some very small position there. So I don't really, that was a huge move, post earnings, but I would be surprised if anybody has more than a very small position there. It's just, it's a fairly illiquid, trading stock. So, people probably have 1s, 2s, 3s, and 5s. That's it. I don't think anybody has a lot. I have one small position there. I want to say we lost a little bit of money on Friday, but I rolled up my puts right away. So I'm short of strangling there right now, but it's a new delta neutral.
All right. If you just tuned in, this is Victor Jones and Tom Sosnoff, a.k.a. the Urban Cowboy. Let's welcome in Pete Molmat to First Call. Pete, how you doing, my friend?
Gentlemen, out of all the things, Urban Cowboy. Okay.
You probably don't even remember the movie Urban Cowboy, do you, Vic?
No, I don't. I just...
Oh, look at him.
I was going to say,
who started in Urban Cowboy? Yeah.
And, probably, it's. I think it won an Academy Award.
Oh, I don't know.
I think really? Urban Cowboy won an Academy Award. Deborah Winger was
right.
everybody's like fantasy back in the day. Anyway, whatever.
I'd pay to see your explore page on Instagram. Pete,
Yeah.
what do you think about bonds?
I don't think I'd be looking
this
up
week?
Deborah Winger anymore. I'll put it to you that way.
Nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture, but did not receive it. So got
okay.
close, but no cigar.
I was going to say, I remember it was a great movie.
Yeah, it was a classic.
Yeah.
Classic back in the day. How are you, gentlemen? Disappointing afternoon with the Bears. I guess changing the coach wasn't the answer.
So far, no bueno, as we say.
Oh my God, these guys are it's just getting beaten on. Yeah, disappointing stuff.
Yeah.
Victor, what do you think? We're going into, again, we're running out of time, so to speak, going into year end here. We got a couple of weeks. We got 2 solid weeks of trade left, and then it'll still be interesting, but we've got Christmas dropping on a Wednesday, New Year's dropping on a Wednesday. So those weeks are going to be lighter, and there's just not going to be as much to do. So it's interesting. You guys talking about, and I couldn't agree with you more about Tesla. I mean, it's just the combination of, the politics playing into the stock price and his position. I don't see what's changed in terms of.
Well, Pete, you had a Tesla. You're buying another one?
I you know what? No, I'm not. I'm just, and I guess partially it would be a personal choice based on what I think of the guy, but the other
Sure.
it would be that it's a great car. But you are basically laying down on the road. You're really low, so I don't know if that will be my choice. But
I wasn't counting my physical handicaps of getting in and out of that car.
I know, and my choices.
As into it is very low, but I've mastered it over the years. It's very low.
It's the drop and twist. It works really well.
The drop and twist.
The drop and twist works really well for me. So good call out of you on the bonds. I was a little. Overly bearish on these. Bonds bounced back nicely. Took the non-farm payrolls number in stride. They've got, it looks like it's pretty much 85% that they're going to cut on the 18th. Mm-hmm. So the only thing, and I doubt it'll stop, but we got inflation numbers this week, but we'll move off of it. It's not going to.
Bonds are done. Bonds are done. They're dead.
For the year.
If you play that bond play, which we did very effectively, I might add for once, the play's dead. I mean, with the rally up on Friday, maybe there's another point to the upside. Maybe it goes down another point, but we closed our bond position. It's the first time we have no bond position on in almost 2 months, I want to say, and it was a significant position. So we're out of bonds right now.
Yeah, nice trade. And the curve, honestly, between the 2s, the 10s, and the 30s, there's 5 basis points apiece. So it is slightly upward sloping, but nothing from a trader's side. There's nothing interesting. I can't figure out which way I want to be in terms of are they going to, if they were to steepen more, I don't know what's preventing them right now. So, I mean, just this ability to keep us right in this relatively uninverted, but it's very flat. If you think that about, the difference between a 2-year yield and a 30-year yield is 10 basis points. But it doesn't seem to want to move. And with the bonds rallying, all the yield products rallying and rates falling, it just takes the spring out of some steepening I thought might take place. I just don't see the trade unfolding in the next 2 weeks. So I think you got to focus on where it's moving. NASDAQ record highs last week. The feeding frenzy is on. How many shorts are left in the market? I don't know, but the breaks are, you look at any of these breaks they give you and they last less than, they last less than a couple of hours. Maybe
but this is the suck in. This is how they suck you in, Pete. This is where this is where you get you just get a little mesmerized by it, and you get suckered in thinking that it's a new paradigm. And every time I think it's a new paradigm, the market, I'm going all the way back to like 1985. Right. Every single time I thought there was a new paradigm, the market teaches a lesson. Now the problem is, timing is
right.
Yeah, it might be 2027 before anything changes. Who knows?
Yeah, but they've built a lot into this. Russell NASDAQ was relatively I mean, Russell gave back a little bit of ground against the Nasdaq towards the end of the week, but
yeah, the Russell
that's not going to be
pretty,
a one-way trade.
the Russell was pretty bad last week.
Yeah.
The Russell versus anything was pretty bad.
But that actually gave you, if you want to play that, I mean, that still has a fair. If you're looking for stuff that hasn't necessarily gone full tilt in the opposite direction, that pullback in Russell gave you a spot if you want to play some Russell Nasdaq right now.
Yeah,
and
I
you
like
did
that trade.
Get into it cheap. Yeah,
I like that trade, Pete. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good pullback. But I go across the board, guys, and I look at copper, $4.20. That's not interesting, particularly. Gold's kind of dead right now. I mean, they've tried a couple of times, but, and you called this out too, Tom, which was we had a decent rally, but they've taken a fair amount of vol out of it. And silver did catch up a little bit. That was the one nice trade that worked. Silver had a little bit of bounce into it, relative more so than gold did. But even that right now at 84, 85, middle of the range, this is one where I've got to wait for something kind of to get a little bit more on the extremes. It's hard selling gold here. It's $150 off its lows, but we're in the middle of a cluttered range. And I think there will be sellers on the way up. So right now for me, this is a little bit tougher of pick and choose where you want to be. And I think you've got to be right now a little bit more equity focused. I'm light on metals. I'm light on interest rates. I've got some short euro. I know you guys are leaning the other way. I've got some short euro. I thought that tape action in euro on Friday after now farms, the best they could do was get it above 106 for about half an hour and sellers emerged. So even though euro's awfully cheap right now at 106, 105, I still think they're going to be buying dollars into the end of the year. So I'm short some euros, I'm short some sterling, and I'm long a little bit of yen against it. But I think, Oracle's got earnings, Costco's got earnings on Thursday. Things all are at record highs. Watching those for interesting, seeing if I can find some interesting plays on that. You look at this chart, Tom, you look at the Tesla chart, not by the same degree, but punching through, I think all-time high here is $1,000 a share. Overdone, or do you look at Costco differently?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I mean, the only thing I look differently about Costco and Tesla is that, I mean, yeah, I think Costco is probably really rich here, but the difference in Costco to me is it's very difficult to trade Costco. It doesn't even have a tenth of the liquidity of Tesla. So for me, being a liquidity freak, if I thought the two were equally overbought, Tesla's far more interesting to me, because this goes back to Vic's question. It's not personal, whether I like Tesla, hate Tesla, love Costco, hate Costco. And I do generally love Costco. I was there today. But the problem for me is that it's just not liquid enough. The markets are pretty wide in there. So if I'm going to trade, an expensive stock that I think is the top end of its range, which is just subjective anyway, maybe I'll put a small Costco position on, but Tesla's tradable. You can do anything you want in there. You can literally, Tesla, Nvidia, those are your two most liquid underlyings. Nothing else like those two.
Every chart looks like this. I swear I could bring up Palantir. I could just keep going. Yeah. I could just keep going.
Yeah, the difference in Palantir, the only difference in Palantir is that I feel like Palantir, to me, the reason I've stayed away from Palantir is because even when it was in the 20s, I thought Palantir had meme stock risk. And I don't think Tesla has meme stock risk, and I don't think Costco has meme stock risk. I always thought Palantir, had potentially as meme stock risk. Do I think it's ridiculously overpriced here? Yeah. Could it lose 20% in about a day and a half? And it probably will. Yeah. But I don't have any position on in there either.
If it lost 20% in a day and a half, I'd be there buying it. I'd be there buying it.
You say that now. Okay. I've been around this business a long time.
I said it last time you said that.
Everybody's a big talker when they're at the highs. He drops 5%, 10, 20%. I'll be buying it. You know what? This thing drops 20%. There's going to be a reason for it. There's going to be a reason for it. You're going to be cowering in the corner. Shaking.
No, I won't. Okay, I said this before. I'm going to say it again. It's an AI play. It's a defense play. It is a free government money through government contract play. It's not just domestic, but they get revenue sources from multiple places. I get that it might be expensive, and I'm not saying you should lever up and I'm not in the next 30 to 45 day cycle, but I just see there's lots of reasons over a long enough time frame to want to accumulate this name. And it's Peter Thiel. I mean, it's the king of the world. Who's going to stop him? Not us.
Bitcoin at 100,000.
If there's, he's on my list of the 3 most hated people I have in the world. So like I wouldn't let me put it this way: non-dictators, most hated people.
Fair enough. Where were you going with this one, Pete? I got Bitcoin up on your screen.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a pullback, not much of one. ETH putting through 4,000, but this another freight train that doesn't seem. Now, Vic, I'm curious your thoughts. The rally, ETH took a lot to start getting out of the box. Once it did a move, on a percentage basis, Bitcoin's far outpaced it over the last month and a half. What do you think? Where's your mind on Bitcoin and Ether?
Ryan always talks me into buying the discount in ETH.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for Ryan Grace and his big brain, I think I'd throw that thing to the side. I get its value in the network, but I would just concentrate on Bitcoin. But every once in a while, when the discount gets too great, Ryan will tweet something out, and I'll go, okay, it's time to buy Ethereum. I personally think I thought once Bitcoin crossed 100,000 that it was going to be a psychological, sentimental, and psychological and sentimental shift in the marketplace. And I was a little shocked that they faded it to under 100,000 so quickly, I think later in that day, but it didn't take long to buy it back up. And I don't think we're going anywhere for a while. I might sell some at 115, but I don't want to sell it right now. I think it's too early, and Tom will say I'm crazy. Tom, you fading it here?
No, I have not sold any of my Bitcoin, but my ETH position is bigger than my Bitcoin position, and I haven't sold any of my ETH position. And I think I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, selling some. I just got sidetracked. I haven't sold anything, but I'm probably going to sell some this week. I don't know, just because it's the smart thing to do, not because I have any opinion.
I agree. What are you playing are you going to stop coming in here on Sundays talking about gold silver ratio, and you're going to start talking about the Bitcoin Ethereum ratio?
You know what? You've really got to. This is what's great, especially on the with futures. You can go where it's moving, and there you can trade both sides of it. So trust me, Vic. I mean, part of what I go through is trying to. I mean, I just don't have anything I feel great about that is really interesting. I wish I could put together something base versus semi-base. I've looked at copper and silver and some of those relative plays. Everything is so middled right now. Mm-hmm. It's tough unless you get a little bit of vol expansion, and vol and gold is at 50%. It's not horrible for a relatively flat market. Neutral strategies going into the end of the year, I'm a little nervous about squeezes one way or the other, but that would be what I'm looking at right now. I don't see anything from a directional. I wish I could. I wish I could come to you with 3 things I'd be leaning on and excited about for this week. A lot's got to change for it to get to that point right now. So yeah, I'll focus on what's moving, what's at extremes, and where the market's getting tested here. I think it's a big round number, which really doesn't matter, but 100,000 is an interesting point. And will they put the legs in up to 115, or will it just sit? That's
Hey, Pete, we got to jump over to Ilya.
You bet, guys.
We're running late. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a good night. Great to see you.
Tom's chomping at the bit to talk about the jobs number from last Friday, so we got to keep this thing moving. Ilya Spivak, welcome to First Call. What is that 227,000 jobs added to the economy? What's it mean for risk, if anything? Just real quick point to Josh and the guys running the ones and twos. I think they're saying there's no sound. So if we can address that. I think we keep cruising here into the end of the show. We only got a few more minutes. So Ilya, take us home on either your 2 or 3 areas where you'd like to deploy risk, and feel free to speak towards the currency side, as we haven't really talked to that too much. Hold on, really quick, Ilya. I think, and guys, they're saying they can hear me and Tom. I just think they can't hear Ilya. So let me do this, Tom. Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Leave and come back, Ilya.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vic.
So Tom. Well, we addressed Ilya's sound, and thanks everybody in the chat for letting us know what was happening. Ilya's going to jump out, and he's going to come back in. But Tom, how are you thinking about dollar going into this week against any of your cross currencies? Has your opinion changed at all?
No. So I got longer the dollar last week. So we're long yen, British pound, euro. That's pretty much it. Those three, my main big three. So yen, British pound, euro. I'm staying long all three. I think these are situations very similar to the bond market. I don't think these are really that tradable. The liquidity in everything except the euro is kind of crappy. So it's not something you can trade in and out of. I prefer just stay long all three, and I think the dollar is going to over the next couple of months. I think the dollar is very vulnerable. All these things are trading right on their lows. It's the contrarian in me just being the contrarian in me. That's all.
I actually agree. I have bifurcated positioning though, and I have bifurcated positioning in equities as well. So in the dollar, I'm long euro, I'm long pound, I'm long yen on the spot side to keep things small. I'm long the Swiss franc on the spot side to keep things small. But I'm short the Aussie because the Aussie looks like none of the others. The Aussie actually broke down last week. So I was short that, and thankfully that worked so far. We'll see. The Canadian dollar is another one that's been shellacked. I don't have any exposure there, but there seems to be a kind of divergence in what the dollar is doing. Europe is doing well. Commodity currencies are not. We'll see if this continues. But I have exposure on both sides. Then for equities, there's also this weird divergence where NASDAQ, S&P keep going higher, but there was a really clean breakdown in the Russell last week. It was like a beautiful double top, a gap at the bottom of a range. We tested it. It held. Then it broke down. And then on Friday, we came back and retested that very site and could not get back over. This is about as clean of a price action picture as you can hope for. And maybe it's not going to work, but it certainly looks like this is some sort of a top. So I'm short this. I want to be short NASDAQ. I want to be short S&P. I think S&P in particular looks like it's overextended here, but I want confirmation. So for me, it's S&P back under 6,000, and I'm short.
Very interesting. And before we get out of here, Ilya, there is a couple of items on the calendar. It's a big week for like rates and CPI, PPI, all of that. How are you thinking about the economic calendar ahead?
So I think the CPI number is interesting. I think it's going to be similar to NFP in the sense that it's going to give the markets permission to do what they already want to do, because it's not going to change the Fed calculus very much. The next thing that changes the Fed calculus is the Fed. CPI is more about what the Fed might do in the near term. I don't think it's going to be the kind of number that's way off sides at this point. And so it's not going to change December, and it's not going to change the outlook for next year. So I think that helps the dollar lower. I think it helps bonds higher, just as the reflation move from September through late November continues to unwind. I think it's just speculative interest getting squared up. And speculative kind of tactical money coming out of those ideas because it's been a good run. Then I think the ECB meeting is interesting in particular for the euro because the cut that they're supposed to do, that's already baked in. If you look at ESTR futures, which is the Fed funds futures version for Europe, the cut's already in the market. It's in the price. So now are they going to be any more dovish for next year? Probably not. There's already 100 basis points and cuts baked in. I think there's a relief rally in the euro there. So I'm happy with my long.
There you have it. All right, final word to you, Mr. Sosnoff, going into this week to all the traders out there listening. A word of wisdom from Mr. Thomas Sosnoff to end the evening.
So it's going to be an interesting week in the sense that you have the futures roll coming up on Friday, and which always creates a little vol midweek. Because people have to decide whether they want to carry their futures positions over into the new year or they want to, it has a lot to do with what you think might happen tax consequence wise or that kind of stuff. But taking that out of the equation, we're rich right now. We're very, very rich and there's no fear. And we haven't had any intraday reversals to the downside. Not really even one. We had one a couple of weeks ago where we were up 50 and closed down something, but it's really been like 2 weeks, so that's ancient memory. Like I told you, I'm flat bonds, I'm long dollar. Those are both nothing anymore. I still like the Russell here, but I've been fighting that battle. Hasn't been a fun one, and the S&Ps and the Nasdaq are in nosebleed territory. I don't think there's a lot of shorts out there. So I don't know, when there's no shorts, you need a continuation of longs to carry this thing through. Like you need a lot of buying to come in at the end of the year to get some continuation to the upside. And I'm not sure you're going to see that, but I don't know. Like this market has been, it's been relentless. And it has not paid to fade it. So I think, like I said to you, I think the biggest risk is velocity. It's a little bit Ilya just said. If they break down a little bit, you might see some velocity to the downside because I don't think there's a lot of shorts right now, but I think people will, they won't hesitate to jump on that side because there's a lot of traders out there now. But until that happens, it's been blue skies.
Yeah, I'm not fighting this locomotive. I've taken enough lumps this year attempting to fight it. I caught the few big sell-offs, but not nearly enough of them to make it a worthwhile idea to get in front of it until it's really turned.
I'm leaning short NASDAQ. I was last week, stood in front of that, and I'm going to do it again, Tom.
You're a braver man than I.
If the Titanic
it sounds so un-Victor Jones-like, but I appreciate it.
Playing the violin with you, man. All right, everybody.
It'll give us enough time to talk more Bitcoin on Wednesday. I got some factoids for you.
All right, fair enough. On behalf of Ilya Spivak, the incredible Pete Molmat, I've been Victor Jones. For the one, the only, the founder and the creator, Thomas Sosnoff. That's going to do it for us here on First Call. Do us a favor, hit the like button on your way out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so. And we will see you bright and early tomorrow on this channel, 1:30 a.m. Central Time. The content starts, so wake up. Join us nearly 24/7. We'll see you. Peace.